Welcome to the 2003 BreakPoint regular season. In the offseason, the two big highlights where we've added a sixth team, the Kentucky Wildcats, and then also the Butler Bulldogs landed the top recruit, so they added a freshman six. So we'll see if that pays off for them. Let's get to the action. All right, as usual, we start with Butler IU Kickoff Classic. This is their third meeting, and Butler has never beaten the Hoosiers. Indiana comes with a big 9. Butler with a home field of only 1. Indiana's first roll is a 2. That's an 11. Butler here gets big. They might have a chance. They hit a 5. Close that gap. Only down by 5. Need a low roll here for Indiana on their second half roll. It's a 2. That's 13-6. They have a shot if they can hit the break point. And they do. They hit the break point, so they've got 5. That puts them at 11. They're down by 2. As long as they roll higher than a 2, Butler is going to get their first win against the Hoosiers, and we're going to kick off the season. We do. With 9 points in the final frame, 15-13, Butler gets the big upset over Indiana. What a way to start out. How exciting. We'll jump over to Michigan Stadium, where Kentucky is participating in their first ever breakpoint game against Michigan. So Michigan had a great season last year, just fell short. Let's see how they do in the 2003 season. And Kentucky, their first ever roll is a breakpoint, and that's going to give them a 10-point advantage going into this. Here we go. Michigan rolls again, and they're going to hit a 5, so 13. Still have the lead, 13-10. Kentucky's second half roll. Another breakpoint. Unbelievable. They're going to hit another one, another 10. That means they've got 20, which means Michigan has to hit it. I can't believe this. Back-to-back upsets. Yes, that's a 0. Wow. 20-13. Unbelievable. 2 big upsets. Indiana and Michigan, the 2 favorites, fall early. All right, next we're going off to Brown Stadium, where Valpo is going to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The Irish crushed Valpo last year, so we'll see if there's going to be any kind of difference. Just a small 2-1 advantage for Notre Dame over Valpo. And Notre Dame on their first roll hits a break point. There has been an unbelievable amount of break points here. And so they're going to score 9 in the first frame. Valpo needs to score something to get on there. A 4. Still a 6-point lead for Notre Dame going into the second half. And here's the roll. Another break point. What is happening? And that will be an additional 9. So they've got another easy victory in store here unless Valpo can hit a bunch of... Nope, they hit the 0. And it looks like that'll be their final, 20-5. Wow. So that puts us to the end of the first week, and we see Butler, Kentucky, both with upsets. Notre Dame, the expected victory. But that means Indiana and Michigan are at the bottom. Michigan visits Butler. Let's see how Michigan can respond to that horrible upset. So they have a 6-1 advantage, but that didn't mean much in the first week when they lost to Kentucky, and they get a 4. So they have a healthy 10-1 lead. Butler hits a break point. That's 5. That's 8. Michigan fans have got to start getting a little nervous. They've had 3 dice rolls against them this season. They were all break points. That is unbelievable. Michigan hits a 5, 15, 6-point lead. That means Butler has to hit a break point. And can you believe it? 4 break points in a row, 10 points. Michigan has just lost again, and Butler has just won again. I am blown away. Welcome to the first game at Kroger Field for the Kentucky Wildcats. They just came off of a big win over Michigan, and Michigan just lost again. So now here, Valparaiso comes to town with a big 6-1 advantage. Their first roll is a 4. And from there, Kentucky hangs in there with an additional 4. Valpo, they land the big 5, giving them a 15-point advantage. Here's the big roll, and a 4 is not going to be enough. They needed a break point. So Valpo beats Kentucky in the first game at Kroger Field. Next, we go to Notre Dame Stadium, where the Hoosiers visit after their big upset loss to Butler. And Notre Dame will get the first ever 2-point home field advantage. So that's pretty exciting. Let's see how it goes. Indiana's first roll is a 1, and they will score a point. So that 1 point advantage isn't really going to help them much. Let's see what Notre Dame can do. And Notre Dame might miss, and that will be a 0. So Indiana gets lucky here and has a 2 point advantage going to the second roll. Indiana hits a 3. That gives them a 7-2. Notre Dame needs a 5 or 6. 5 or 6. They hit the 5, and there we have it. We actually have our first tie in BreakPoint history, 7-7. So this is going to be a little interesting. Indiana has a loss and a tie, and Butler has 2 wins. I can't even believe they're on top of it, followed by Notre Dame with the win in the tie. So Notre Dame is in a driver's seat to match Butler, and those two might be the 2 champions. Let's see what happens. Back at Notre Dame Stadium, Michigan Wolverines and 0-2 Michigan Wolverines meeting up with Notre Dame. This is last year Michigan won, so let's see if they can repay the favor and do it again. And here goes a 2, low roll for them. Notre Dame will have a 3-point advantage going into the second half. Michigan on their roll. That's a 2. They're not going to do it. Notre Dame is going to win, and Michigan will be 0-3, while Notre Dame has 2 wins and a tie. That's crazy. Michigan is falling apart. Onward, we go back to the Butler Bowl. Here, Butler has a 3-point advantage over Kentucky. Butler again is 2-0 with 2 big upsets. Kentucky rolls a 3. So Butler can add some points here as long as they don't score a 0. There's a 5-point lead. Looking good for them. Kentucky's next roll is a 2. So look at that. Butler 3-0. 2 upsets and a win over Kentucky. This is crazy. Butler is going to have an opportunity to be the champions. I am just blown away. Onward to Memorial Stadium, where Indiana is playing Valparaiso. So far, it's been a very dismal year for the favorites. They've had a loss and a tie, and now Valpo comes out swinging with a 5. Indiana hits a 4, maintains a good lead going into the second half. Can Valpo hit a break point? They cannot, so Indiana will beat Valpo and get their first win of the season, even though they're going to miss there and just pick up another point. 11-8 is the final. So after 3 weeks in the books, Butler's in the lead with 3 wins, no losses, no ties, followed by Notre Dame with 2 wins and a tie. So they're really the front runners for the championship. Indiana could still fight their way in if they can win out and have some losses from Butler and Notre Dame. And then everybody else is kind of following up in the back. All right, onward to Indiana and Michigan, the 2 favorites squaring off at Memorial Stadium. Indiana bringing a 2-point home advantage plus a 3-point advantage over Michigan. And Michigan hits a break point. And so they're going to undo a lot of that advantage that Indiana carries. Indiana's first roll is 3. We're tied 8-8. Hey, maybe Michigan can salvage their season with a big win over Indiana. And just like this season, they are going to whiff in their second half. All Indiana has to do is score 1 point for the victory, and they got it. So Indiana wins over Michigan, and Michigan is 0-4. I can't even believe it. Onward to Notre Dame Stadium. Kentucky comes to place Notre Dame for the first time. Notre Dame has a 2-point advantage, so they plus the 8 points, so that gives them 10 points over Kentucky. Kentucky's going to need to hit a couple break points to get through. They hit a 2 on the first. Irish also hit a 5. That looks pretty sound. Kentucky needs a couple break points to have a chance. They're going to just roll a 2. So Notre Dame will win this one in their first ever meeting with Kentucky. Pretty big. So that's 2 big wins. They did this same thing to Valpo, and they're going to put up 19-4. Final game of week 4 is Butler at Valpo. The undefeated Butler Bulldogs facing Valpo Crusaders. Valpo has a nice 4-point advantage, plus the home field gives them 5. Butler's first roll. They've been so hot this season. Their hotness continues. They hit a 5. Valpo counters with 4. Looks good for Valpo. See what Butler can do in their second half roll. Of course they hit the break point. And that is going to be 14. So that means Valpo needs a 5 or a 6 to win or tie. They hit the 3, and Butler continues to crush it. 4-0. I am just floored by this. 4-0 Butler. This means the next week game, Butler versus Notre Dame, will decide the champion. Indiana is eliminated. Meanwhile, Kentucky, Valpo, and Michigan are failing to even get their second. Well, Michigan's failing to get their first win. I can't even believe this. Let's go to the final week, and then we'll crown a champion. Back at Michigan Stadium, Michigan's still looking for their first win. They'll have a 7-point advantage against Valpo. Let's see how it goes. Valpo's first roll. It's a 3. Michigan, big 5, has a big advantage. Valpo needs a break point or Michigan's going to get their first win. They get the break point, and they follow it up with a 9. So that is a tie, and it would just be like Michigan to hit the 1 here, the way this season's going. And they get the 3, 15-12. Michigan avoids a winless season, and they both fall to 1 and 4. All right, onward to Kroger Field, where Indiana is going to play Kentucky. Again, Indiana's slow start means that they're not really playing for anything, but we'll still finish out the games. And so Indiana coming with a 12-1 lead after the first roll. And Kentucky, this is more what we expected from Kentucky being a first season team. They've only scored 1 point in the first half. Indiana's next roll is a 2, 14. Need a couple break points here. Kentucky finishes their season with a, with a 1 at least. So they're going to lose 14-2, and that'll be the end of the Kentucky season. All right, here we are. The championship game, Butler versus Notre Dame. Statistically, whoever wins this game is the champion. We will not have an additional game because this is it. Notre Dame with a 5-point advantage going into the first rolls. They hit a break point. They hit another double break point. They've got 10 points plus 4, and that's it. Notre Dame pretty much has just stomped Butler in the first roll. This is not going to be pretty exciting. 20-6 after the first half, and then they add another 5, 25-6. Unless Butler can pull out a miracle, it looks like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish will be crowned champions with a final of 25-11. So the final standings, Notre Dame 4 wins and a tie will be crowned champions. Butler 4-1. What a great season. I just can't even gather my head around how well they've done. Indiana disappointing about their strengths. And then Kentucky and Valpo kind of filling out where we would expect them. And Michigan, the most disappointing season that I've seen. So here's a little bit of fun stats for you. And thank you for watching. We'll be right back with the 2003 off season, and we can kind of see what is going to happen there, especially at Michigan. Their coach is up for contract, and he just put together a 1-4 season, so his seat is very much on fire. Again, thanks for watching. Please leave comments for your favorite team, and have a great day.